Hello, you're in the workshop with Mark Tunley, 13th of December 23. Filthy evening, so no outside filming. And we're in the workshop and I want to talk about my float setup for Stillwaters. And there they are. Now you can see they're pretty much all the same float. Now, I'm trying in my fishing to become very efficient and very effective by getting rid of all the clutter. So, for instance, if I was, and I've done a few videos on feeders, there are certain type of feeder setups that work really effectively and well. So I'm trying to use those nearly all the time and get rid of the less effective. So I only have a very small handful, 2 or 3 type options to use, and I just use those. I'm applying the same principle to my float fishing on Stillwaters. And these, as you can probably recognize, are wagglers. I don't work for Drennan, but these are the Drennan VisiWags, and I love them. They're absolutely fantastic. They're fantastic because they've got a lovely high vis tops on them. When I've been making floats, one-offs, etc., I've been using these type of colors because they really, really work. And there's a full range. I've got a couple. I've got a VisiWag 2, these are the thin tips, and VisiWag 7, these are the thick tips. Now, they range from 1 gram in 1/4 gram intervals for the lightweight floats, and from 2 gram to, so 1 gram to 2 gram, and from 2 gram to 6 gram in the heavyweights. And what I'm basically doing is I'm saying to myself, obviously depending on the range I'm fishing at, if I'm fishing for smaller fish, silvers or crusions, anything small, roach, bits and bobs, I'm going to use the small VisiWag 2 with a nice delicate tip. And if I'm fishing for larger species like tench and bream, etc., and carp, I'm going to use the big tips. And within that sort of 1 gram to 6 gram range, I can cast from the horizon to right at the edge. And I'm pretty much, most of the fishing that I'm going to be doing is up in the water or laying on. I'm trying to keep things really, really simple because the fish are either on the deck or they're not. So if they're up in the water it is. And if they're on the deck, instead of looking at lift methods and a dead depth, I'm just going to lay on by X inches depending on what the conditions sort of dictate. And that way my float fishing is becoming very, very simple. I don't have to overly think about things. And now the reason why I've picked these VisiWags is because they're preloaded. And this preloaded float has an extra dropper of 8 number 8s, which is 4 number 6s, 2 number 4s, or 1 BB, or in real money, 0.4 of a gram. So when I set this up, I use a little clip to clip on the float, stuck between 2 float rubbers, and then down to the hook, and I use the 0.4 of a gram dropper shots in whichever way I want to do it. So once it's set up on my float rod, all I have to do is pick a float, and it always works, and they always cock absolutely perfect. And if the conditions change and I need, say it's a bit too much tow or something, and I need to step it up or step it down, I can just flick over a different float, obviously adjust the depth because they're different lengths, and it's fishing. So it makes my life really simple, because waggler fishing was always a real pain to get it just so. And if you needed to change anything, you need to change the whole lot. Excuse me. This way, if I need to change floats, let's just clip one on. The rest of it's already done. So the only additional float is this little bad boy here, which is a float that I use for depth finding with my plummet. So that clips on exactly the same, very, very buoyant. I put my plummet on, boom, that's my depth. Then I mark the rod with the tape, which is my usual thing, and then I put on one of these. And so my Stillwater float fishing has just become so simplistic, and my mind is free to concentrate on on more important things like trying to catch the fish than fanning around with what type of tackle. So I've taken my feeder principle of the minimum amount of feeder styles to float fishing as well on still waters, and it's working well. So, and it looks really, really nice as well. So they're extremely pleasant and effective. So these are the Visiwags, number 2 and number 7. And I don't work for Drennan, but I reckon he should give me some commission. Lovely.